All right. All of you freedom loving boys and girls, whomever you are, wherever you are on this great big blue marble of the planet we call Earth, Mark Centerline Systems. Hey, this video is going to be about our everyday carry belt pouches. However, I just want to kind of or preface with, I'm going to show off the belt pouches. They're going to be available on our next business day tab, and they're going to be at a reduced cost. So this video is really more about why am I doing this next business day, reduced cost, call it a loss lead. And I'll get into that in a second. So this isn't necessarily about the belt pouch itself. I'll show one or two things off, but that'll be Thursday's live stream. I'll do that as more of the loadout video. But more importantly, like Mark, why would you give away a product at a loss lead at a reduced cost? And by that, just kind of jumping right into it. So I'm going to give these pouches away from now until the end of the month, or correction, the end of the year, at my labor costs. So that's all I'm charging. I'm charging my labor. And I'm hoping the smart people out there will start picking up a little bit more about, what might be difficult for me to talk about in a video. I've mentally rehearsed this a bunch of times. I don't work off of notes. I don't have a script in front of me or a teleprompter. I'm not a politician. I usually just talk from the heart, and that's what I'm just going to do here. And somebody be like, well, Mark, that's the stupidest thing. What business gives things away? Why would you have a loss lead? Why would you give it away and only just recoup your labor on it? Well, it's because, like, in someone might, I guess on that note, like, are you stupid? Are you just dumb, or are you trying to fail as a business? I don't think I'm either one of those. I hope I'm not. I might be dumb on a lot of different things. I sure look at, but I got that voice for radio and the face for radio and the voice for silent film. But at the end of the day, though, I know this is going to sound a little egotistical, and I don't mean it to be this way, but I think the first time I went hunting when I was like 9 or 10 years old, I know by 12 or 13, I was hardly ever in the woods without a 22 or a 410, some type of rifle. Got myself in trouble once or twice, tell that story one day. Came home with a goose, and it wasn't goose season. I didn't know any better. Like, hey, grandma, look what I got. What the hell? Anyway, I digress. And then I joined the military when I was 17, spent between the military and the agency 30 years in that world. And then once I left the agency, a little over about a dozen years ago, give or take, running Centerline Systems for about 10 of those years. And then, just being back into an avid hunter, big bow hunter, always out in the woods. That's my long-winded way. So not to say, look at me. I'm just trying to say, hey, I've used gear. Like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not a novice. This isn't my first time using gear in a lot of real world type of scenarios. And, just even going out hunting, depending on the weather, can be a real world scenario. So I'm not saying this to you, the individual who's got those type of experiences and that background. You probably already know what I'm getting at here. But at the end of the day, like, we don't know what we don't know. And I acknowledge that as a business. Like, in this day and age with everything, it's so been beat into us, this consumerism, like, cheap ass stuff made in China, dreamt up in a boardroom by people who've never, and that's the only reason I said that. It isn't to look at me. There's people who've got even, way more kick-ass pedigrees than I do. It was just simply say, I'm not an idiot. I'm not a guy in a boardroom just dreaming the stuff up out of nowhere simply because I think it looks cute or sexy or whatever the case is. No, like, all the gear that we make, there's a functionality behind it. There's an interoperability behind it. And that comes from real world experience. And again, we don't know what we don't know. And we all don't start out just having the same level of experience. So for those individuals, for the people who know what I'm talking about or who've purchased my gear before, you already know what I'm saying. But for everybody else, well, and here's the other sad thing. So for all those other people who've never had a piece of my gear, never seen a video, never talked to anybody, don't know anything about us as a company, thanks a lot, internet censorship and, Section 230 and all this kind of crap, because you can't even get out in front of anybody anymore unless you're a giant company. And that should cause people some pause. And that should give you a little bit of concern. But so if you're a person and you're smart enough to say, okay, hang on a second, why is this piece of gear only $60? And if you take a step back and you realize everything from just something like, hey, all that stuff has to either be flown to America or transported in a sea land container type of vessel. Do you know how much money that is? And these are businesses who are still making 400 to 600% profit. So when you really start looking at all of the machinations behind this cheap ass gear that you would rather get, it really starts breaking down to you're like, oh my God, how much did it really cost to make this? How inexpensive and cheap is that material? And more importantly, just from my humble perspective, what kind of slave labor is being used here, or what kind of corners are being cut? So again, we don't know what we don't know, right? So it's to those people. That's where my appeal is. If you've purchased gear from me, you already know the craftsmanship. You already know the quality. You already know the thought that goes into the designs, the experience behind the sewing and the material that we use. You already know that stuff. But so it's kind of appeal to you other guys. Look, I get it. Times are tough. You look at the website and you're like, oh my God, a G3, a mother, that's how much money? Well, truth be told, and I've said this many times, you know, and it's always one of my favorite jokes. If I ever had to go on Shark Tank and open up my books, you know, I'd probably get laughed off. You know, that episode, I probably wouldn't even make it to the episode. They'd be like, "Yeah, no, dude, you're running a hobby, not a business. Like all of my stuff needs to be at least $20, $30 more." But I digress on that. That's just me. You can sit there, you can see me smile and hear my previous rants on all that. But again, but I understand, I get it, right? Times are tough. I'm a small business owner. Believe me, times are fucking tough. I understand all that. So you might come over to my website. Maybe you do break through the censorship and you find out about us, and you come over and you're like, wow, man, that's a lot of money for a gear roll. That's a lot of money for a canteen care. Why don't I just go to one of the 3, 5, 7 companies that are ripping off this guy's design and who are making it overseas, or they're cutting corners and they're using overseas material and they're just doing a cheap, shoddy job at it. Why don't I just go one of those guys? Well, I mean, that's a technique. You really could do that. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, that is a technique. If you've got the time and the money and that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. My thought or my counter to that, and it's the only ones I have, is like, well, that's a lot of time and money. And it's just a waste of time and a waste of money. You have to go and reorder it all the time. You have to buy, 1, 2, or 3 every 1 or 2 years. Cause whenever it gets, exposed to the sun or gets wet, it starts falling apart. Or if you look at it incorrectly, it starts falling apart. And then that kind of ties into my point. I don't want a piece of gear that's going to fail when I least expect it and I least need it to fail. I want a piece of gear that I know, hey, yeah, okay, look, these are soft goods. They can burn, they can get blown up in explosions. That's actually happened with some of our gear. God bless you guys and gals. You know who you are. But that's just the harsh reality. Or you use it to fight off a grizzly bear or Sasquatch. But the first time you go hiking, camping, and every time you go in the woods, you've heard me say this a million times, like that's Mother Nature. That's for real. And she gets a say in this stuff. Well, that's not when I want to have something in the back of my mind saying, hey, is this going to make it? Is this going to fall apart? Can I rely on this to potentially save my life or that of my family? I want a piece of bomb-proof, shatterproof, just, durable, multifaceted, well thought out, well-constructed piece of gear, made by people who've done this stuff for real. That's just me. So bringing it back kind of in my rambly way, full circle. Well, how do I reach those people who, again, you don't know what you don't know? Well, here, just a little story before I go further with that. Excuse me. This was about, I don't know, 4 months ago now, something like that, 3 or 4 months ago. I had a customer who had never shopped with us before, bought some gear, got their gear. And then, God bless this person, took the time out of their day, called me up and was talking to me about the gear. And through that conversation, one of their key points was like, man, even the material feels so much, better, more, high speed. I can't remember exactly how they said it, but, like it's better material. And again, no offense to this person, but in my brain, all I was thinking is, and this was a guy who had claimed, was big into this world, does a lot of this stuff, owns a lot of gear. And then this person is saying, oh my God, even your material is so much better. And all I was thinking is like, that just means you've only been buying cheap ass Chinese shit, your whole life. Again, we don't know what we don't know. So how do I bridge that gap? This is what I came up with, kind of bringing it my ramble full circle. Well, okay, we really make it to sell the belt pouch at the amount I need to sell it for. Most people aren't going to do it, because the reality is, going back to Mark, are you stupid? You're in the wrong business. I get it. I'm competing with cheap ass Chinese gear. Fully understand that. But I believe in high quality gear that actually can do the job, can do multiple jobs, and then I can rely upon. So how do I reach out to you, that undecided voter, so to speak? You know, elections next week. I had to throw that in there. You know, that person who, oh, but Mark, you know, again, Mark's got a face for radio and a voice for silent film, or, you know, whatever. Okay, how do I reach you? Well, the best thing I could come up with is, well, we got to do a lost lead. The belt pouches, they're small pouches. I can never sell them for what they really need to go for. So so that's what we're doing right now. We're going to do it from now until the end of the year, have a little fun and see what happens. Because I really believe that you, the end user, if you're like, oh man, I don't want to pay that for a G3 or a mother canteen carrier, I'll go buy one of those cheap knockoff Chinese or that other, you know, 3 to 5 American companies stealing his designs. Again, you do you. But the same quality, the same craftsmanship, the same material, the same experience that goes into that belt pouch, that wasn't just designed out of nowhere. That wasn't designed, you know, oh, because we think it looks sexy. There was intentionality and function behind that. And that same quality, material, craftsmanship, that goes into everything we make. So whether it's a mother, a G3, you know, the meat bag, the belts we make, either for us or Jack over at Black Scout Survival, that's what you're going to get. So what I'm really kind of hoping for some of you potentially new customers, again, if you can even see this video and ScrewTube doesn't like censor it. Oh gosh, join us on Thursday, tomorrow night's live stream. I'm going to have a lot of fun, and I'm going to be in costume. I hope you're in costume if you see this before Thanksgiving, before Halloween. But anyway, that's what we're doing, right? So what are we doing? We've got a handful of our EDC belt pouches. Oh, you know, I guess I might as well just do that right there. Well, no, I'll end it with that. So we've got a handful of them. We're going to run with 3 colorways. We're going to, and maybe we'll mix it up and we might add some, you know, to see how things go. And we're selling them only at what it cost me on the labor side of it, right? Because this is the weight. So, and on that note, for some of you guys and gals who are, you know, pre-existing customers, return customers, hey, there's only 5 of each colorway I'm about to show you. So don't go in there and just think you're going to buy them all, you know, like all 15. There's only 5 per colorway. So, and I'm going to, matter of fact, before I publish this video, I'm going to have to go in there and tweak that inventory so I don't find myself. So, because somebody's going to be like, hang on a second, $30 for a belt pouch. I'll go buy all of them right now. Well, you're not going to get them all in black because there's, well, here, I'll just jump right into it. So we're going to do 3 colorways. Well, that's actually was 8. So let me just do 3. All right. So we're going to do like a rescue red. That's kind of one of the original colors that we did. There we go. That's a little bit better. Rescue red. Now they all will have the little patch panel down there so you can get the smaller patches for your med kit. And I'll do a little bit of a loadout video on Thursday's live stream. Like I said, there's so many different ways you can use these things, and I'll save that for the live stream. And they are belt loops. For starters, and I've had people say, well, I wish it was Molly with a snap on the back. You're not putting this thing on your belt and then reaching over here and snapping that in place. And this is your everyday carry. Don't want to lose, never want to be without mission critical thing. It needs to be secured to your belt so it can't fall off, right? So we're going to do Rescue Red. We got Chuck Norris, just good guys wear black. The back doesn't show up a little bit right there, but the front, just again, I was just kind of thinking of like, well, what would be the standard colors, you know, for work or for if you're out hiking, camping, and you wanted it to be a little bit more rescue. Again, emergency signal, emergency boo-boo kit, emergency fire. Maybe you want that a little bit more open. You know, you're wearing it just around your workplace for work things. Maybe it's more utilitarian. And this is mine, excuse me. And that's Ranger Green, Coyote Brown. And now mine's loaded up, and I'll show this in the loadout video. But this gives you a little bit of sense of the proportionality, the size of it. And I'll show everything that's in here tomorrow. And those are the 3 colors we're going to have on the website in the next business day. And again, we're just selling them at where I was going with that. We're just selling them at my cost for my labor that goes into each one of these things, because it's got functionality to it. Join us on the live stream. I'll show a lot of that out. I'm already getting some of my props together for what that's going to be. And it'll just be a fun, and I'll be in costume, scary lights, woo, spooky, but it's going to be a giveaway. Now, I'm not going to even give a clue to what the question is going to be, but here's the giveaway. And before I say this, Murph, he's helped out with a bunch of videos, and we did that charity for the young Marines, and we did the rucksack and the tadpole camo. And I put my money or my mouth where my money was. And I said, hey, I'm going to make you something for Christmas. Well, that thing I was going to make them, I don't have enough material for it. I had enough material. Well, I think I can make a mother out of it. And then I made one of these guys. So Murphy's getting one of these as kind of just a Christmas present, just for being a badass and helping me with the whole charity auction for the Seymour Young Marines. But this one in my hand right here, that's the giveaway tomorrow. That's what we're going to be giving away in tomorrow's live stream right there. I only had a limited amount of that material, so I don't know, man. And here's a shout out to Gene across the pond. The real name of the camo is Frog Skin, but because it's the Young Marines, Gene just started calling it Tadpole, and I like Tadpole. I mean, I don't know why. It's a cool name. So we're going to give this away tomorrow. All right, a little bit of a longer video. This is not how the product videos are going to be going forward. Was kind of using this week as rehearsals. I did the hoodies. That was the other video. Hoodies are up on the sale, up on the website for sale. And boys and girls, one or two of you already took advantage of that, and I already dropped the ball and effed up, and that's on me. So I had to figure that shit out today. And yeah, anyway. So anyway, again, it ain't easy being green, so you got a lot of things to do. We're all busy and life sucks, but you got to do it. So anyway, hoodies are up there. So the hoodie video was a little bit longer. This video, a little bit longer, because this is really more about talking about the lost lead. And if you can't pick it up, I'll just end it with this. Again, the kind of final appeal I'm really trying to do is, hey, whatever happens going forward, we've got to start turning this shit around. And that means me and you, each and every one of us. If we just keep saying we're going to buy cheap ass shit from overseas and then expect to go in and work a job, union wages or whatever. Like, look, Cindy, my lead sewer, she's just as skilled in her arena, her area. And it isn't, oh, just sew and just do this. That's, I love it when people say that to me. That just indicates how little they know and how much more detail and thought and craftsmanship that goes into it. Cindy's just as skilled as any master electrician, master plumber. But we're competing with China. So again, that's not we know that stuff, right? I'm not really that concerned about being wealthy. I'd like to make a little bit of money someday, but until we turn this stuff around and we start, making people realize, yeah, you can go buy that cheap ass shit. You can just go do it. And look, and I'm going to throw some, I never call other companies out by name, but you and I both know it. If you're actually a discerning customer and you pay attention, there's a bunch of companies that use the made in America, and no, it's assembled in America. They use cheap ass materials overseas, and it just saddens me, right? So I've had people say, Mark, well, why don't you put a made in USA, tag inside of your products? Well, since the very beginning, go back and watch the very beginning videos. That logo, the Centerline Systems logo, right there, that is my tag. That is my made in America. That is my name, right? It's the only thing I have in life. The only thing I can, that's important to me that I can lose if I F it up is that logo. That's me. That's who I am. That's what I believe in. And we've, since day one, wanted to make that, synonymous with it's made in America. It's mil spec. It's Berry compliant. It's high level craftsmanship. It's high level material. So that's what we're trying to do. For you guys and gals who've worked with us and ordered from before, unfortunately had the experience of talking with me on the phone, you already know all that stuff. If we can break through the internet censorship and some new people see this video, that's what you're going to get. Even out of one of these little tiny belt pouches, that level of everything we do is in that little pouch. Imagine what that's going to be like when you got a G3, a mother, a meat bag, or, an everyday organizer. That's who we are. That's Centerline Systems. That's my lost lead. That's my appeal. Let's just hope things start, the world starts getting a little better and we can calm down some of this nonsense that's taking place. So, hey, until then, you know the deal. I got to say it one more time, actually, for those existing customers, you already know how great of a deal that is. There's only 5 of each colorway, right? And I have to adjust that. So don't go in there and buy all 15. Somebody's going to do something like that. It's going to be hilarious. And God bless you for doing it. But hey, anyway, that's the deal. But if you got questions, comments, reach out anytime. I'll do the best I can to help you out. I really hope we see you on Thursday's live stream. Again, I've got, I think, some good questions for this. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'll do some loadout stuff, and I'll give you a little bit more of an explanation of what we're going to do starting November for all of our media. So at that note right there, I already said, reach out if you got questions, comments. I always say it, but I always mean it from the bottom of my heart. So until then, keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. All right, everybody, be good. We'll see you tomorrow night on the live stream. Woo!